I found Time's Ticking on the internet after having a bad experience with local watch repairs, where the cost ended up being more than the watch itself. After sending it from South Carolina 2,000 miles away, I got it back just like new 2 weeks later. Time's Ticking was prompt, inexpensive, and they even called when they got my watch and told me in advance what it would cost to repair. This is the only place I'll trust my watches from now on.
I was nervous to send my watch to Time's Ticking all the way from Georgia, but they were very timely and easy to communicate with, so it all worked out. My favorite watch is now back running and working perfectly. I'm very satisfied with my experience.
I have had my Accutron watch for many years. It was a gift from my late wife. It stopped working many years ago. I tried several times to get it repaired, but I was told it could not be repaired. I was going to put it in the trash, but decided to try one more time for repair. I got in touch with Time's Ticking, and they told me it could be repaired. I sent it to them. It took several months, but it was returned in working order. Thank you, Time's Ticking, for bringing back a cherished memory.
I wanted my husband's Bulova watch repaired so I could sell it. Once we received the repaired watch, my husband fell in love with it again and decided to keep it. The timing was perfect. It was just before Father's Day. Before I found Time's Ticking, I had tried local stores in Florida, and they wouldn't touch it. We were so lucky to have found Time's Ticking. Thank you for restoring our watch and for your incredible communication. From tracking updates to following up with the delivery, Time's Ticking is top-notch.
I have a vintage 1910 Seth Thomas marine clock, which was given to my grandfather as a young man. It's been passed down through generations. The clock always worked perfectly until last year when a critical part of the clockwork broke. I couldn't find a clockmaker to fix it locally. I became aware of Time's Ticking and shipped the clock to them out in Utah from New Jersey. They called me back after examining the clock, telling me they had the replacement part. About 7 weeks later, they shipped the clock back to me. I'm delighted with their work. The clock is running perfectly now. I'd recommend Time's Ticking highly.
I brought my watch in for repair, realizing that my watch is not only important to me as a nurse, but has great sentimental value. It was my graduation gift from nursing school 22 years ago. Time's Ticking has fixed my watch and kept it running. It's wonderful to support a great company that hires great people.
This clock belonged to my father-in-law, who recently passed. It holds so many memories, and I knew I couldn't just trust anyone to refurbish it. When I called Time's Ticking, I immediately felt at ease. They explained everything to us, the process, the turnaround time, and I knew right then they were the right company. When we received the clock back, we were amazed at the quality of repair, not only to the clock casing, but the clock works as if new. We placed the clock on the mantle, and my 92-year-old mother-in-law heard the chimes, and it brought tears to her eyes and a smile to her face. Thank you, Time's Ticking, for giving us that priceless moment. You've earned a perfect 10 out of 10.
As a timepiece collector, maintaining my watches in perfect working order is essential. After moving to Idaho 2 years ago, I searched for a reliable service provider, but I had no luck until I found Time's Ticking. I took a leap of faith and sent them a watch that was no longer in production, expecting bad news due to its rarity and condition. To my surprise, Time's Ticking not only repaired the damage, but returned it in perfect working order, clean and polished. They handle shipping with care, and after this experience, I'll be sending all my future watch repairs their way. From antique to exotic to modern watches, I trust Time's Ticking to handle any timepiece.
My brother and I bought a 1976 sailboat that we've been restoring for the past 3 years. A close family friend gifted us a beautiful Schatz ship clock that was the perfect addition to the California cabin. I was always given the same story. Parts were unavailable. Finally, I discovered Time's Ticking. True to their word, the folks at Time's Ticking said that repairing the existing mechanism was possible. They repaired the clock as promised and shipped it back to me in excellent condition. It's been keeping perfect time ever since. I'm extremely grateful for the excellent service and workmanship. Time's Ticking has my full endorsement.
I purchased a sector watch that is no longer in production using money I was awarded for an accomplishment at my company. I first took it to a jewelry store that couldn't repair it, but Time's Ticking not only fixed it, they did it flawlessly. Professional, great communication, work done quickly, watch sent to you at no charge. I'm very happy to have my award back on my wrist. Time's Ticking team is going to get any watch I pick up first.
We took my mom's watch in for repair, though I was skeptical to trust them with a prized family heirloom. Time's Ticking knew what they were doing and did it right. Now it's on my daughter's wrist in Argentina. As we get closer to the year anniversary of my mama's passing, knowing that her watch will be a kind reminder for my daughter makes my heart happy. Thank you, Time's Ticking.
I have a very sentimental watch that needed a new battery. I took it to a couple of jewelers that were too expensive due to the corrosion on the watch. A friend recommended Time's Ticking, and I'm glad he did. They explained the problems I've had, how to avoid them, and fixed it with ease as we talked. Within 5 minutes, my watch was finally working. I recommend Time's Ticking to anyone who needs any kind of timepiece looked at. I had an Oakley minute machine that I loved that stopped working. I just didn't want to drop it off at any jeweler, and saw Time's Ticking has a reputation for repairing Oakley watches, so I sent it to them. I received a call stating that they needed to rebuild the movement. They said they would source the circuit boards and the parts separately to rebuild it. Even though I had many questions, at the end of the conversation, I felt comfortable giving the go-ahead to repair my watch. They did a magnificent job of cleaning the watch, crystal, and band upon return, and it runs perfectly.
I've collected 6 G-Shock watches over the years, but time and wear have taken their toll. They needed their crystals replaced and were dirty. I sent them to Time's Ticking, and not only did they fix all the problems I had, but the watches came back looking brand new. I was surprised at how great they looked.
My Kenneth Cole watch was an anniversary gift from my wife, so it's near and dear to my heart. I sent it to Time's Ticking, and am very impressed with their professionalism. They kept me informed throughout the process, and I'm very pleased to wear my anniversary gift again.
I love using my Fitbit for exercising, but the band separated. I was scared that I might need to get a new one, but Time's Ticking saved the day by fixing it quickly. Great service.
I'm in the military and am rough on watches. When I took my watch into Time's Ticking, I didn't think they could fix it, but they pulled through. They give military discounts, which is wonderful. Also, they have an option for a lifetime warranty on a battery for a watch. I cannot say enough good things about them and their service. I am very impressed.
Time's Ticking service is grade A. I sent my watches from California, and they always kept me updated with the status of my watches. They're always happy to help and speak to you like an old friend. Their work is flawless. Time's Ticking, a place where you can ask an old friend for help.
For a while, I've been going out of my way to replace my watch batteries at Time's Ticking. They are especially kind and very professional. While I'm there, I can catch a movie just around the corner. Work is always done right and guaranteed, and I don't have to worry about a thing.
These guys are the watchmasters. I've been rough on my 10-year-old watch exploring the mountains. They can fix the circuit board in it so that my features of altitude, compass, and barometer are working again, and I can return to the trails. I recommend going to them for all types of clock and watch repairs.
I inherited my father's watch. It was the gold watch gifted to him on the occasion of his retirement. It is a Belova Accutron quartz watch that commemorates the university that my father faithfully served for so many years. He always enjoyed wearing it and did so until his death. When I received the watch, it no longer was running. This watch holds a significance to me that goes far beyond its rarity. Time's Ticking worked with me on the cost. It took about 1 year, because its repair required the location and securing of rare parts. But when the watch was returned to me, it ran flawlessly. It keeps perfect time, and I am thrilled to have this restored family treasure.
My Seth Thomas clock is a family heirloom. It was given to my grandfather as a recognition for his community service. It was damaged after falling from my fireplace mantle. I was fortunate to find Time's Ticking on the internet. They did a wonderful job repairing and restoring my clock, which now sits proudly on my mantle again. I could not be more pleased with the quality of work and the helpfulness offered at every point in the process. This is truly a professional organization, which I highly recommend to anyone needing their services.
Time's Ticking did a great job repairing my Tommy Bahama wristwatch. This watch isn't just a timepiece, it was a gift celebrating my 25 years of service with my company. When the leather wristband became damaged, I could no longer wear it. I had taken the watch to several watch repair businesses here in North Carolina with no luck. Just when I thought I was out of options, a quick Google search led me to Time's Ticking in Utah. After a simple call and clear instructions, I sent my watch in for repair. They kept me informed on the status of the repair, and 3 weeks later, I had my watch back with a new band. I couldn't be happier with the repair. Thank you, Time's Ticking, for bringing my watch back to life.
I've been to Time's Ticking a couple of times now, and the employees were way beyond cordial. They were downright nice, educated about all timepieces, and they just made me want to come back to the store. They were a treasure trove of knowledge concerning not only the wares they sell, but about every one of my watches as well. I work in the retail business myself, so I really hope you will take my word for it when I say you don't need to find your timepieces anywhere else other than Time's Ticking. I have a vintage Rolex my dad gave me when I turned 12 in 1970, and I've been wearing it ever since. It needed a tune-up, and I felt very comfortable asking the team at Time's Ticking to work on it. They found a little speck under the crystal and asked that it be removed. I've missed wearing it the past few weeks, but my old friend is back. Thank you.
My dad passed away and did not have very much as far as jewelry. While helping my mom clean out some belongings, I came across an old Timex watch tucked away in a shoebox. It had no band, was missing pieces, and no longer worked, but it had belonged to my dad. I went to a few places around town and no one would or could fix it, and suggested I try online out of town who would specialize in Timex. This watch was very old, and it became more important to me, so I found Time's Ticking and sent them my watch. The repair took 3 months, and during this time, my mom passed also. I received the watch the day after her funeral and heard its beautiful sound. The watch was restored to its natural beauty and finds so much joy in knowing I have it and it ticking again.
I snagged a good deal from a local pawn shop on a Rockwell Apostle, but unfortunately, the battery had just stopped. Thought about just going to find one and install it myself, but I remembered seeing a Time's Ticking store. Not only did I get my battery replaced, but they took the time to explain the service they can provide, especially since I prefer to keep my nicer timepieces in great condition. They did an amazing job, and I will never be going anywhere else after the great service and experience I had. Best idea ever.
During the COVID pandemic, I had a hard time finding someone to replace my watch battery. I finally brought it here, and the service was outstanding. They were kind, willing to help, and quickly replaced the battery at a great price. On top of that, they even gave me helpful information about fixing another broken clock in my home. The customer service was exceptional. I'll definitely be back.
I've always had a great experience with this shop, and I've been coming here for almost 10 years now. When my watch band suddenly came loose, I expected a bit of a wait, but the repair was quick and efficient. I was in and out in no time. No need to wander the mall with a fussy baby. Couldn't have been more relieved.
I never believed in miracles until the day I got my watch back. I never thought I would see it working again, but Time's Ticking made it happen. I am extremely happy with their work, and I appreciate all the research they did to make this small miracle happen. I had a 1964 Bulova Accutron Space View given to me by my father, and that had not hummed for 20 years. I was told that you could convert this to a battery-run quartz, and now I'm glad I didn't do that. I tried contacting several companies that I saw online, and the only one to answer my call was Timesticking. They were very knowledgeable about my watch and explained the procedure of sending the watch in and getting an estimate for repair. The watch looks fantastic, and my father would be proud. I'd give this company a 10 out of 10. I'm getting ready to ship them my gold graduation watch for repair.
I sent an old Schatz ship's clock to Timesticking for evaluation and repair after it had spent decades untouched in my garage. They promptly provided an estimate, and once we agreed on a price, they got to work. When the clock was returned, it was running beautifully, something I hadn't seen in years. I'm grateful that skilled craftsmen like this still exist in an age where so much is disposable.
I trust Timesticking for all my personal watch servicing and repairs. They are simply the best in terms of quality, schedule, and price. My Tag Heuer Aquaracer required some major repair work, and they delivered. Works better than new. Seriously, I highly recommend them for any watch service and repairs.
After consulting several jewelers in Denver with no luck, I decided to explore online options and came across Timesticking. The glowing reviews caught my attention, and after several reassuring phone conversations, I decided to give them a try. Not only is it an expensive timepiece, but it also holds deep sentimental value for me. I requested a larger stem nut to make setting the time easier, and am thrilled with the work they did. I highly recommend them.
I was initially hesitant to send off a clock to another state without personally visiting a physical store. However, the staff at Timesticking immediately contacted me once the clock was received and provided a quote and estimated timeline to fix it. I received the fixed clock back through the mail in wonderful working condition. Despite being over 100 years old, the clock mechanism looks almost brand new after cleaning and repair. Thank you.
While searching online for a trusted watch repair service, I discovered Timesticking, and I'm so glad I did. Their communication was prompt, thorough, and incredibly kind. I could tell they were passionate about their craft. When my grandfather's Bulova Accutron was returned, it was securely packaged, beautifully cleaned, and most importantly, alive again. Thank you, Timesticking.
Timesticking runs its business with the highest level of excellence. Their skilled specialists will go above and beyond to restore your broken timepiece and source all the parts needed for the intricate repairs. After using Timesticking for 2 watches, I have been blown away by how they coordinate the process with tremendous expertise, professionalism, attention to detail, and warmth. I was initially nervous to mail in my beloved watch, a cherished anniversary gift from my husband, but they ensured that it was handled with the utmost care. Do not hesitate to trust them with your most valued timepieces. Their services are worth every penny. Our old Seth Thomas clock, a treasured family heirloom, was on the verge of being passed down to the next generation, silent and lifeless. Thanks to Timesticking, it now has a future with renewed life. They meticulously dismantled it, replaced worn parts, and restored the bushings with expert care. It was a job well done, and what truly stood out was their communication and follow-up to ensure everything was perfect. Thank you all at Timesticking.
My watch has never looked better after Timesticking's fast and meticulous repair. When I received it back, I thought they had sent me the wrong watch because it looked brand new. It's rare to find a company that truly cares about their customers. To anyone who requires a watch repair, contact Timesticking.
I took a chance on Timesticking, and they exceeded all of my expectations. My wife's Movado watch had been sitting unused for over 2 years, and local jewelers couldn't even identify the issue, let alone fix it. But Timesticking repaired, adjusted, and cleaned it, bringing it back to new condition. The staff communicated routinely to provide status, and the watch was returned, looking and running as if it was brand new. I recommend them highly and will certainly call on them for assistance in the future.
I'm so happy with how my Seth Thomas clock turned out. Thanks to Timesticking, I discovered I had inherited a priceless 200-year-old wall clock with wooden gears. I can use it to keep time in my office and hear the comforting tick-tock as I work. Their effective communication, exemplary care for my antique, and reasonable pricing made this experience unforgettable.
I had a really positive experience working with Times Ticking. They reached out promptly upon receiving my watch to give me an initial estimate. After a conversation, they got to work, fixed my watch, and a couple of weeks later, I received it in the mail. It was so easy,